And as you heard there, we are now performing ground gas closeouts, purging all of the lines that just loaded all of that propellant into Falcon 9 to get them ready for liftoff today. Coming up in just a few seconds, we will
Falcon 9 is in startup.
And with Falcon 9 in startup, Falcon 9's computers have taken control of the count. We should hear a final go, no go for launch call from our launch director in the next few seconds.
Launch director, go for launch.
And with our final go for launch and a good weather forecast here for the final 30 seconds, let's sit back and watch Falcon 9 take the Nusantara Lima satellite into orbit.
T-minus 30 seconds. T-minus 15 seconds. T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Engine full power and liftoff. Go SpaceX, go Nusantara Lima.
The chamber pressure is nominal.
Vehicles pitching downrange.
And at T plus 30 seconds and counting, Falcon 9 has successfully lifted off from Space Launch Complex 40 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida. In just a few seconds, we'll start throttling down the 9 Merlin engines in preparation for max Q, the period of maximum aerodynamic pressure. This is a critical moment during flight because the combined stresses caused by Falcon 9 accelerating through the atmosphere and the ambient static pressure are at their greatest.
Falcon 9 supersonic.
To help go from vertical to horizontal, the first stage has performed a pitch kick maneuver. This maneuver, known as the gravity turn, gimbals Falcon 9's engines just a small amount to slowly turn the first stage so that it's going from straight up to a more horizontal orientation. And as you heard, we have passed through max Q. Everything looking good on Falcon 9, about a minute and a half into the flight. Coming up shortly, we'll have 3 events that'll happen in quick succession, and we should hear
chill has started.
All of those called out by mission control, starting with main engine cutoff, followed by stage separation, and then second engine or stage engine start 1. That call out you just heard means we are now thermally conditioning the second stage's MVAC engine in preparation for its ignition. That ignition will happen after stage 1 shuts down its engines and separates, after which the stage 1 booster will begin to make its way back to Earth, descending under the force of gravity until it's time to relight its engines for the entry burn. At second engine start 1, or SES1, we will light the MVAC engine on the second stage for the first time. And we should have main engine cutoff on the first stage booster coming up here in just a few seconds.
Main engine cutoff. MVAC startup.
And there we had those 3 events in quick succession: main engine cutoff, stage separation, and the ignition of the second stage's MVAC engine. Coming up in just a few moments, we should hear a call out for payload fairing separation. The 2 payload fairing halves are encapsulating and protecting the Nusantara Lima payload right now. But once the stage climbs into the vacuum of space, those payload fairings are no longer needed and they will be jettisoned.
Both vehicles are following nominal trajectories.
Confirmation there that both stages are following the planned flight path today. and confirmation of payload fairing jettison, which you just saw there on your screen. Now, we will be attempting to retrieve these fairing halves once they fall back to Earth with our recovery vessel, Doug, which is currently stationed downrange in the Atlantic Ocean. Coming up in just under 3 minutes, we'll have the entry burn of the first stage booster. That should last roughly 20 seconds. At the start of that entry burn, we will relight 3 of the Merlin engines on the first stage in a maneuver that's similar to pumping the brakes to slow the vehicle down as it passes back into Earth's dense lower atmosphere. The entry burn will help reduce the heat generated from friction with the atmosphere and reduce the overall aerodynamic forces acting on Falcon 9's first stage. All of these things help maintain controlled flight and also help prepare the vehicle for the landing burn. During that entry burn, Falcon 9 will be decelerating by firing its Merlin engines, but the vehicle is still moving quite fast at this point. This causes it to fly through its own engine's exhaust, also known as the rocket's plume. This deposits a layer of soot on the outside of the vehicle, which is why our flight-proven Falcon 9s look the way that they do. That soot comes from the carbon-based fuel that Falcon 9 uses, and with each flight, that soot builds up a little bit more on the outside of the vehicle. Now, just over 5 minutes into the flight, you can see the telemetry for stage 1 there on the bottom left of your screen as it descends through 110 kilometers altitude. On the right-hand side of your screen, you can see the telemetry information for stage 2 as it continues to accelerate onwards towards orbit.
Best sir.
Architect जी, something special for you. बिरला ओपस assurance देने के लिए
ऐसा क्या है इसमें?
एडवांस्ड क्वालिटी 1 साल में पेंट को कुछ भी हुआ तो पेंटिंग वापस करके देंगे वो भी फ्री क्वालिटी पे इतना कॉन्फिडेंस इसीलिए बिरला ओपस assurance रजिस्टर करो birlaopus.com पर
Dubai. Ready for a surprise?
Reusability is key to lowering the cost of spaceflight, enabling more investments in critical space infrastructure. The Falcon 9 first stage supporting today's mission is performing or will perform this entry burn for the 23rd time tonight. The payload fairings are also flight proven on today's flight, with one half supporting its 16th mission and the other supporting its 11th. Coming up shortly on that entry burn, you can see our dual view here, Falcon 9's first stage on the left-hand side of your screen and Falcon 9's second stage continuing to orbit on the right.
Stage 1 entry burn startup.
And there we can see Falcon 9 performing its 3-engine entry burn to slow itself down as it enters Earth's atmosphere. This burn should last about 23 seconds and will help prepare the vehicle for the final landing burn down onto the drone ship.
Stage 1 entry burn shut down. Both vehicles are following nominal trajectories.
And confirmation of a good entry burn and that both stages of Falcon 9 continue to follow the pre-planned trajectories today. Now, the Merlin engines on Falcon 9's first stage are optimized for sea level, and these achieve about 190,000 pounds of thrust during ascent and descent each. At liftoff, Falcon 9's first stage had a thrust greater than 5 747 airplanes at full power. Conversely, the single MVAC engine on the second stage, which has a much wider nozzle, is optimized to operate in the vacuum of space and is capable of producing 220,500 pounds of thrust in vacuum. Coming up in just a few seconds.
Stage 2 is under terminal guidance.
Stage 2 now performing the final maneuvers to enter the desired orbit today as
Stage 1 transonic.
1 is now transonic approaching the drone ship.
Should be popping in.
The first stage booster is headed for the shortfall of Gravitas drone ship stationed in the Atlantic Ocean. And stage 2 is preparing to shut down its engines after achieving the initial parking orbit today.
Stage 1 landing bird.
And there we
Comeback shutdown.
see just about the same time Falcon 9's first stage reigniting its center Merlin engine for the landing burn as stage 2's MVAC engine cut off after reaching orbit.
Stage 1 landing leg deploy. Nominal parking orbit insertion.
And Falcon 9 has landed on the shortfall of Gravitas drone ship. Just as it was touching down, we also had confirmation that stage 2 is in the correct orbit. So with that, we now have roughly 14 minutes of coast as the second stage moves to the point in its orbit to do its next burn, which will send the Nusantara Lima satellite into a geosynchronous transfer orbit. The start of that second burn should come at around the T+22 minute mark. We'll be back to cover that and show that and be here with you. But for now, let's enjoy some space tunes, and we'll see you back here in a few minutes.
I'm hungry.
Let's see.
No, only 2 gram protein. 0 gram protein. 16 gram protein. Yes!
प्रोटीन तो बहाना है, इन्हें गोदरेज यमीज खाना है। 16 ग्राम्स प्रोटीन वाला गोदरेज यमीज।
This logo notch is not just about change, it's about renewal of our purpose, of our culture and our commitment to excellence.
level up your skills? Get inspired on the go with the LinkedIn app. Discover expert advice, follow industry insights, and stay ahead in your field.
GoDaddy has the perfect hosting plan for any website, from low-cost shared hosting to your own virtual server. Every plan comes with a 99.9% uptime guarantee along with a free domain name and award-winning support. No wonder we are the world's #1 web host. Unlock your online potential today with GoDaddy.
Hello and welcome back to our live coverage of the Nusantara Lima mission. We are back from our first coast phase and just in time for second engine start 2. In just a few seconds, we will have a roughly 40-second burn of the second stage's MVAC engine, which is shown on, which we will see momentarily.
MVAC startup.
And there we have good call out of the ignition of the MVAC engine. This is the second burn of the MVAC on today's flight. The first burn started around 2.5 minutes into launch and lasted for about 5.5 minutes until we reached our initial orbit, which we call a parking orbit. The burn taking place right now will place the Nusantara Lima satellite into its needed geosynchronous transfer orbit for payload deploy. Let's watch and listen in for confirmation of shutdown and a good burn.
MVAC shutdown.
Confirmation that the MVAC engine shut down as expected. For the next 7 minutes, we'll be in another coast before we reach
Nominal orbit insertion.
deployment of the Nusantara Lima satellite. And there was confirmation that we are in the proper orbit for payload deploy. So with that, we're going to take a short break, and we'll see you back here in a few minutes at about T plus 27 minutes. And welcome back to the Nusantara Lima mission. We're now just over 27 minutes into today's flight and coming up on deployment of the satellite into its geosynchronous transfer orbit. To recap today's mission so far, Falcon 9 lifted off at 9:56 p.m. Eastern Time from Space Launch Complex 40 at the Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida. About 2.5 minutes later, the first stage shut down and separated, and then headed for a successful landing on the A Shortfall of Gravitas drone ship in the Atlantic Ocean about 8.5 minutes after taking off from Pad 40. The second stage then took the Nusantara Lima satellite into its desired transfer orbit via 2 burns of its MVAC engine. We're now standing by for that geostationary communications satellite for Pacific Satellite Nusantara, or PSN, to be deployed. Here's a little bit more about today's payload.
Indonesia is an ocean of islands, more than 17,000, where distance can stand between people and opportunity. PSN set out to change that. Nusantara Lima is PSN's next step, a high-throughput communication satellite designed to extend reliable connectivity to classrooms, clinics, small businesses, and first responders, reaching places where fiber and towers can't. Built with Boeing on the proven 702MP platform, SNL is designed to deliver more than 160 gigabits per second and dynamically direct capacity to where it's needed most, across the islands and into Southeast Asia. From geostationary orbit, SNL will complement Indonesia's fiber and mobile networks and help keep communities connected when it matters most. This is partnership in action. PSN's vision for nationwide access, enabled by technology that's built for reliability and impact.
And we're now just moments away from deployment of the Nusantara Lima satellite. Right now, stage 2 and the satellite are over southern Africa after lifting off from Space Launch Complex 40 at the Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida. Nusantara Lima will be the newest satellite in Pacific Satellite Nusantara's fleet. The geostationary communications satellite will have the largest capacity in Asia using very high throughput satellite technology. Indonesia is the world's largest archipelago with many remote islands that are challenging to reach to provide internet to. The Nusantara Lima satellite will be critical in providing this essential connectivity across the island nation's 17,000 islands. You can see a good view here of the MVAC engine that brought us into the needed geosynchronous transfer orbit today. And there is a good view from a camera located on the top of Falcon 9's second stage, looking at the bottom of the Nusantara Lima satellite, which we should see deploy here in just about a minute. For the launch portion of today's mission, the Falcon 9 booster that performed the first part of the ascent was supporting its 23rd flight, while the two payload fairing halves were supporting their 16th and 11th missions respectively today. Those payload fairings will be picked up out of the Atlantic Ocean by our recovery ship Doug, and the booster, which landed on a shortfall of gravitas, will be brought back to Port Canaveral for refurbishment for a later mission, as will the payload fairings. We should see payload deploy in just a few seconds. And like clockwork, there we go. Nusantara Lima is flying free in its geosynchronous transfer orbit after being launched successfully by Falcon 9 today. And also getting a good view of sunrise as Falcon 9 circles the Earth after lifting off in darkness from Florida. But with confirmation of payload deploy, that will bring an end to our live launch coverage. As always, we want to thank Pacific Satellite Nusantara for entrusting us with today's mission, as well as the Eastern Range and the Federal Aviation Administration for their support. A big thank you to all of you for joining us for today's mission. If you're interested in more launch coverage, head on over to spacex.com/launches for the most up-to-date information. When you're there, make sure to check out our new departure board as well, featuring our upcoming launches with details such as mission name, launch and landing site, and liftoff times. Also, remember to follow SpaceX on X, and we will see you next time.
ये बेस्ट है सर। हमेशा वाला क्यों नहीं?
मिश्रा जी, आपके लिए फूलों की बरसात, बिरला ओपस एश्योरेंस देने के लिए।
मतलब प्रोडक्ट वारंटी?
ये एक्स्ट्रा है। 1 साल में पेंट को कुछ भी हुआ तो पेंटिंग वापस करके देंगे।
वापस करके देंगे?
वो भी फ्री। पेंटिंग में पहली बार बिरला ओपस एश्योरेंस। रजिस्टर करो birlaopus.com पर।